Hello, dear friends. I learned years ago about the existence of Paititi throughout a book by the famous Peruvian contactee Sixto Paz Wells, who once organized an expedition to the mythical lost city of the Incas. Since then, I have never ceased to be fascinated by this subject, but I am also saddened and outraged by the plundering that my Peruvian brothers and sisters have suffered. That is why I asked the new president of Peru to investigate this issue of national interest, which is part of the cultural heritage of humanity. I am not the first and will not be the last to denounce this atrocity. Opinion piece. Was the gold stolen from Paititi? Did Peru lose its cultural heritage? Did the famous solar disk of the Incas disappear? This is what Father Juan Carlos Polentini Wester believed. It is estimated that 2,000 tons of gold disappeared. Were the solid gold statues of the 14 Incas missing? The lost city of the Incas is in Manu National Park. The city of gold was a land of no evil, but the bad guys destroyed it. Paititi is located between the headwaters of the Piñipiñi and Pantiacolla rivers. Paititi was the residence of the Inca emperor after the exodus from Cusco. The last paititians were annihilated by the cholera plague in 1780. The historical, archaeological, and cultural value of the lost heritage is incalculable. Let's start. The search for a legendary city of gold called Paititi began in the 16th century during the time of the Spanish conquest. This is attested by the first reports and written accounts of the explorers who set out to find it. From then on and up to the present day, scholars and adventurers of various nationalities have not ceased to try to find it, driven by the coveted fame that would await them. According to Sixto Paz, the legend of the lost paradise was born in the era of Mu and Atlantis, and also in the land ruled by the Incas, thanks to the lodging of pre-remembers of the lost homeland, original kingdom, or the house of the father. It was said that everyone should seek the great Paititi or El Dorado, or also known as the land full of gold, or as in other cultures of the Amazon, called the land without evil. These are only symbols of the house of the Father, as expressed by the Master Jesus. My kingdom is not of this world. This is how the might of the great Paititi or El Dorado is born, as the inner wealth or the divine kingdom to which every noble human being aspires. Description. Paititi or Paititi or Grand Paititi is a legendary Inca or pre-Inca kingdom located south of the Amazon in the border region currently occupied by Peru, Brazil, and Bolivia. The legend originated in the interpretation of some writings of the 16th century, whose authors were Cristóbal Vaca de Castro, Pedro Sarmiento de Gamboa, and Juan Álvarez Maldonado. These writers referred to a kingdom located in the lower Amazon jungle, probably near the current border between Bolivia and Brazil. I find it. The legend of Paititi continued in 1635 when, in the chronicles of Lizarazu, the Inca Huaynapoc and his return from Cusco to Paititi,
where his father reigned, in the vicinity of the Guaporé River. Now the Brazilian state of Rondônia was mentioned. In Peru, another legends has also developed about the story of Incarri, who, after founding Quero and Cusco, retired to the jungle of Pantiacolla to live out the rest of his days in the city of Paititi. This legend was spread by the archaeologist Oscar Núñez del Prado in 1955, after a contact he had with the community of Quechua-speaking natives in the village of Quero in the Andes Mountains. In 2001, Italian archaeologist Mario Poglia discovered in the Jesuit archives in Rome a report by missionary Andrea Lopez. In his report, whose origin dates back to around 1600, Lopez speaks of a large city rich in gold, silver, and jewels, located in the middle of the rainforest near a waterfall called Paititi by the natives. Lopez informed the Pope of this discovery, but the exact location of Paititi has been kept secretly by the Vatican, as always. The city of Paititi and its riches were found in the mountainous jungles of southeastern Peru, in the department of Madre de Dios, in some of the valleys currently included within the Manu National Park, east of Cerro Atalaya, towards the places called Pantiacolla, in whose vicinity there are suggestive mounds called Pyramids of Paratoari. Since then, more serious investigations associated with Paititi have been carried out in lost places in the Peruvian, Bolivian, and Brazilian mountains and jungles. Some of these new explorers have been the Peruvian physician and explorer Carlos Neuenschwander Landa, the Argentine Salesian priest Juan Carlos Polentini Wester before mentioned, by information and accounts of the landowner Aristides Muñiz Rodriguez from the area of Lares and Laco, as reported in the book Paititi en la bruma de la historia, Paititi in the mist of history, and Paititi by Editorial Salesiana, and from 1984 until recently, 2012, the psychologist and explorer Gregory de Vermeulen from the USA, and the explorer and cartographer Paulino Mamani from Peru. The book. El Paititi Padre Otorongo is the title of the book by Catholic priest Juan Carlos Polentini Wester, published by Editorial Salesiana in Lima, 1999. The story denounces the last plundering of Inca gold into the medieval subway city of Paititi in the Manu National Park. It is estimated that 1,000 or 2,000 tons of artistic gold or more of incalculable cultural and archaeological value disappeared. Not only would they have stolen the treasures buried by the Incas, but they would have destroyed all the historical heritage left by the Peruvian ancestors. I talked also about the fabulous golden sun disc, the Punchao, which one right in the main hall of the Coricancha, the golden closure of the great temple of Cusco. A priest born in Argentina, who was a parish priest in the ancient Sacred Valley, claimed for years to investigate a mysterious helicopter operation in times when the famous favorite son of Japan ruled Peru. Testimony of the Salesian priest Juan Carlos Polentini, of Argentine nationality, former parish priest of Lares, Cusco, who died on January 29th and 2015, at the age of 87 in Lima. His book El Paititi Padre Otorongo in 1999 narrates the discovery and looting of Paititi, known as the lost city of the Incas, as reported by elciudadanoweb.com. Testimony. According to Father Polentini in his book, on at least 4 occasions I sent documentation to President Alberto Fujimori, which he did receive, one of them in his own hands in Calca, in the sacred valley of the Incas. He told me, "Father, we are going to make the expedition." That was the end of it. 3 years later, I found out why. Continue in quotes. In 1998, he adds, I was approached by a senior manager of the Discovery Channel, proposing to do the discovery of Paititi with all the details as they know how to do. Of course, I accepted. He left me a television as a gift and went to make the arrangements. By June 1999, he explains, I was able to publish the book Paititi, only 180 copies, because nobody accepted to collaborate. I thought that at least with that the research wouldn't be lost, and it was not lost. There I gave the coordinates of the mysterious city. Probably some of those few books fell in the hands of the famous National Intelligence Service of Peru, dissolved on October 3rd, 2000, and its chief, Vladimiro Montesinos. Around the same time, an army helicopter was lost, which was said to have fallen while patrolling the border with Ecuador, but this was denied by the military garrison in the north, since that border didn't need such patrolling and they did not have an helicopter. The media quickly, I talked no more about it, conveniently silenced. Towards the middle of 2001, he received comments from the Laco Valley, from the community of San Antonio, that for many months in the year 2000, helicopters had been passing at high altitude every day, 2 or 3 per day, back and forth. At first they were surprised, but later they got used to it. That Laco Valley was part of his parish of Lares, and many times he had been there, in San Antonio de Laco, in fulfillment of his pastoral work as parish priest. The community of San Antonio de Laco, exactly on the shortest straight line to the sea. Helicopters used to pass throughout the vicinity of San Antonio. The shortest straight line from Paititi to the sea passes through the city of Ica. In July or August 2000, he read in a Lima newspaper that the then First Lady of Peru, Keiko Sofia Fujimori, had created a farm in the area of the city of Ica, in the highlands, in a place with access only for helicopters, for export crops only. Around the year 2002, a helicopter pilot told him that in pilot circles it was said that in the year 2005 helicopters had stolen the gold from Paititi, taking it to Japan, and that one of the helicopters has crashed. On another occasion, someone told him that this operation lasted 9 months, and on another occasion that the gold had left throughout Ica, where Keiko Sofia Fujimori had a farm for export crops only. Expedition. In 2003, in the month of August, 2 Russian tourists who read his book wanted to visit El Manto. When they got to the top, I almost fainted from exhaustion, because I was 76 years old, in quotes, explains Father Polentini, and because it was a very steep climb, but above all because of what I saw. It had been looted technically and with explosives. There was no longer a rock about 2.5 meters high and 1.5 meters in diameter. It has been dynamited. Where she had been, it appears at the rim of a well of approximately 1 meter in diameter, full of dynamited stones. I don't know the depth, but I'm guessing a good ton or more came out of there. There was a kind of path, he adds, about a meter wide and about 8 meters long, of hewn rock, all dynamited. Several cubic meters of gold have come out of there. Let's remember that the cubic meter of solid gold weighs 24 tons. Once the looting was finished, all the dynamited rock has been piled up along the base of the rocky area, where the sidewalk had been. The pit full of stones was also covered with earth, which drained away. It was there for 3 years after the robbery. The worst thing was, he thinks, that they erased the precious historical mural left by the Incas when they left for Paititi. That mural was a farewell message, the last of the Incas. There were war scenes, dances, chain, the 4 squares of the Tuahuantisuyo, 14 Incas, a circle with a triple stripe, and they erased it all to leave no traces of the robbery. What nature could neither erase nor destroy, they did. The Incas, when they did these things, used to draw what they had placed there by way of inventory. What if the solid gold statues of the 40 Incas life-size, which were never found, had been there, and the chain of Huascar, and the disc of the sun god? How many tons lost apart the infinite cultural historical value? And there, in the pacha of the opposite hill, the mother, carved in the rock with her children, remains crying out, impotent and in vain, for the failure of her mission to cut the legacy of the Incas. She couldn't be destroyed. She remains as a mute witness. Will it be possible to recover that Inca wealth, or will they have already melted it down? Regarding the helicopter, it had fallen in Mameria, which is one of the route of that straight line and ending the territory of Paititi very close. Shortly after it had taken off, the report said that the helicopter was carrying gold to Lima. Yes, it was carrying gold, but not from a non-existent gold mine or out of route to a ship. The crash of that helicopter, it is what put an end to the 9-month operation, and then followed the events of the Great Escape and nervousness known to all. History of Paititi. According to Carlos Pongo Huaman, the penetration of the Incas in the Amazon region, which they called Antisuyo, dates back to the Inca Pachacutec, 1438-1471. The first Inca expedition went into the jungle of Madre de Dios and returned with the news of having found an area from whose entrails gold, silver, and precious stones could be easily extracted. The Inca sent specialized people who settled in the place, forming a camp, and began the exploitation of this fabulous gold deposit. It was Paititi.
Throughout the jungle from Paititi, a wide and paved road was built to the city of Cusco, which allowed the circulation of huge shipments of gold. Another road was built linking Paititi with the citadel of Machu Picchu, and another from Paititi to Cajamarca, Quito. With the gold extracted from Paititi, a great amount of golden ornaments were made to decorate the Coricancha, the statues of the Incas in natural size and in solid gold, representing the emperors of the empire and many other works. In the year passed and the camp grew, constructing more buildings for the Huaycas and their families, making waste of the yellow metal in the decoration of their temples and buildings. When the Spaniards arrived, Paititi was well inhabited because the Incas had a gold factory there. The great fame of wealth that this empire enjoyed came from Paititi. The arrival of the conquerors in plural. The conquerors assassinated Atahualpa in 1532, despite the fact that for the freedom of the Inca they have been filled with 3/4 of gold and silver. It was a baseness, a heinous and ignoble crime. The Incas realized that what the Spaniards were looking for was gold, simply. For this reason, the Inca nobility ordered that the existing gold in the empire be moved and that be buried in the bowels of the jungle, precisely where it came from, Paititi, which they considered an inaccessible and safe place. Slowly, they were taking there the great riches of the Tahuantinsuyo. Manco Inca began the resistance and armed uprising against the conquerors in 1536. After several military setbacks, Manco Inca took refuge in Vilacamba in the year 1544. The Spanish troop stationed in Cusco left in pursuit of the warrior Inca until they killed him. This departure of the Spaniards from Cusco lasted 3 months. When the Spaniards returned to the imperial city, they found an almost uninhabited city. What was left of the Inca royal nobility, seeing themselves defeated and powerless to continue governing the Tahuantinsuyo, decided to move to another place to the jungle and organized a new great empire with the Inca customs, religion and government. Paititi was the refuge they opted for because it was well hidden in the jungle. The time taken by the Spaniards for the persecution of Manco Inca was used by the Inca royalty to their exodus to Paititi, an operation of great strategic intelligence. The exodus to Paititi. The main groups of fugitives left from Ollantaytambo and from the Sacred Valley, they marched through the vicinity of Huachahuasi and arrived at Xochichanca, where they stopped for some months. There they were joined by other Inca populations who came from other parts of the empire. Another group camped a few kilometers below in Manto, at the confluence of the Lares and Amparaes rivers, where a pampa is formed very suitable for resting. As a reminder of their stay and as a sign for the following groups of followers of the Inca, they left painted on the rocks a series of llama figures indicating the direction they should follow to avoid getting lost. Among the figures you can see 2 Incas worshipping the sun and war scenes. It is a beautiful mural with the history of the last events of the empire. In the manto, where they decided to hide much of the gold they were able to save from the rapture of the conqueror. End of the Inca Empire. Paititi is located between the headwaters in the Piñipiñi and Pantiacolla rivers. It became the residence of the Inca emperor after the exodus from Cusco. There they lived with his family, relatives, gods, and trusted people. From there he ruled his empire. It was forbidden to enter. To this day the natives keep that mandate. Only those who carried riches were allowed to enter in order to secure them from the greed of the conqueror. The Inca culture and empire survived there for 3 centuries. It was their final refuge until they were annihilated by the cholera plague of 1780. There slowly agonized the great Inca Empire of the Sun, hey to the ancient civilization of the lost continent of Mu in the Pacific. The natives of Madre de Dios, the Machichengas and the Huapacores, are direct descendants of the exiled Incas, whose sacred mission is to fiercely defend the access to Paititi. The Spaniards call this lost city of the Incas with the suggestive name of El Dorado. They searched for it all over South America, but never found it. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.